Well, it is not the best day to be doing what I'm trying to do today, and that's record interior sound levels from the 4 cars that we own. Well, good day, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Test Drive, and let me know in the comments below what you think about interior noise levels. How important is it to you when you car shop or when you drive a car? Do you notice whether it's loud or quiet? Well, I do. On almost every video review we do here on Beyond the Test Drive, I like to comment on whether I think a car is loud or quiet. I personally like a nice quiet car, especially on commuting or out on highway trips. And in general, without even measuring sound levels, if you get in a car and you pay attention to these things, you can kind of know subjectively whether a car is quiet or loud. To me, cars kind of come in 4 categories of quietness. You have your ultra luxury, what I would call your super hushed cars. That would be things like your S-Class Mercedes, all the way up to some mainstream cars like Lincoln, some of the bigger cars, well, even this Mazda CX-9 that I'm riding in right now. So that's kind of that broad category. And then you get into cars which I would consider, yeah, these are pretty quiet and comfortable. And then you get into other cars where I would think they would be like your sort of your mass market, small, compact cars, where the manufacturers aren't really focused too much on sound deadening for cost control. Get into that last category where you know a car is loud because it's a sports car or it's a convertible like a Mazda Miata, where you don't want to travel in it for long distances. It's definitely not a car you're going to crank your stereo and listen to. So anyway, kind of 4 broad categories, and the difference when you try to quantify those measurements with a decibel meter, it's very difficult to do. Those tests are extremely difficult and subject to a ton of variables, and there's not a lot of spread. A car that's in the mid to high 60s as far as decibels measurement, super hushed, a car that's in the mid to low 70s can be deemed a little loud. So when I measure sound quality, when I measure interior sound levels, my level, what I measure is not going to be the same as, say, like Car and Driver, or because everybody's conditions are different. The biggest condition that you have to be cautious of when measuring interior sound levels is the road surface itself. Is it concrete? Is it asphalt? Road noise is one of the biggest parts of interior sound levels. The other thing is speed. What speed are they going on? How are they measuring it? There's a ton of settings on really high quality sound meters like this one here that'll also change the value that you get. So what I'm trying to do today, folks, is to do 2 things. Number one is to measure 4 cars that we own under the same conditions, and then I'm also recording high quality, about the highest quality audio that I can, using stereo binaural headphones here, so that you can play this back to back to back and see a relative difference between the 4 cars that we are in now. So today the conditions aren't the best because we're getting higher and higher winds, and winds hitting the car, especially a big boxy SUV like the CX-9, you know, it affects the interior sound level when you're trying to measure it. But we have no choice. This is the window that we have. So again, today we're going to measure quantitatively. We're going to use a fairly high quality sound meter here. We're going to go at 70 miles per hour. We're also going to try to be in the same lane on the same highway. I would consider this pretty smooth, fairly new asphalt. So, and then even though I talk about sound levels, we want to establish a standard so that when you're tuning in and you listen to a Beyond the Test Drive review and I say it's a fairly quiet car, it measured 69 decibels, you know you can contrast that to other cars that we've tested. Now, I will have, at the end of this video, I will have back-to-back audio of all 4 of these cars, and I will not talk over them. You can check that out. But right now, let's go ahead and get started with what I would consider the quietest car in our 4-car fleet, and that is this 2023 CX-9. Full throttle. Again, that test isn't really to measure sound levels. That's basically because we are recording in high quality audio here. If you're interested in how a car sounds accelerating, that's the test we're going to do. As we drive over to the highway here, let me describe. We are in a 2023 CX-9. We purchased this car 9 months or so ago. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We have a couple videos up there about it. So we're on pretty new tires. This car has 18,000 miles. So, you know, tires are probably about halfway through their life, and they're all seasons. And this car, without measuring the sound levels in it, is pretty quiet. So I am starting out with this one today in the video to sort of set the standard, and then I'm going to take them in order of which I think they will be noisier and noisier. So second up will be our 2020 Mazda 3. Third up will be a 2023 Toyota Corolla. And then last up will be a 2010 Honda CR-V, which I'm pretty sure will take the cake for loudest today. Now, before we get out on the highway with our CX-9, I do want to give you guys a big mega thank you. Let me switch this to... I'm going to change another setting there. Yeah, I want to give you guys a big hearty thank you for pressing play today. If you're one of our subscribers, we really appreciate all the support. If you're new here today, we'd love to have you subscribe. We know that's a big commitment, and we don't want to ask you to hit notification bells or anything like that. We don't want to drive you nuts with that stuff. But if you don't want to subscribe, a like also helps us and tells YouTube that quality content like this, well, we think it's quality content, is important, and you want to see more of it. So, all right, so let's get this up to 70 miles per hour. Again, traffic is just not where I want it to be, so let me shut up, and here we go. Okay, so we're coming into the high 60s on the meter here. Huge amount of wind buffeting. I can actually see it affecting the readings. One thing about the sound quality, you know, it's more about the sound. It's more than the sound level. It's about the sound quality too. This CX-9, even though it's you hear some wind noise from that buffeting, it just feels really solid and vault-like. You got a lot of soft materials absorbing some sound. At the same time, this is the biggest cavernous interior that we're going to test today, and you can tell that with reflections around the cabin. Now, we've had 6 or 7 people in here. You can hear conversations from all the way in the back seat. So again, this is one of these cars you can drive all day, be very comfortable with the sound levels, listen to the music, and it's not going to fatigue you at all. Okay, let's move on to our next car. Okay, next up is our 2020 Mazda 3. This car needs no introductions. There's a ton of videos out there. This is our official long-term tester. And let's do our 10 to 50. Now we are rolling on Bridgestone Terenzas or whatever. I've been pretty happy with these tires. I know if you go out onto the Mazda forums, everybody sort of poo-poos them, but they're about halfway through their life. Still plenty of tread. Now, one of the reasons I purchased this Mazda 3 is I felt subjectively it was fairly quiet compared to something like a Honda Civic, even though Honda has made great improvements. But you know, the interior quality, a lot of soft touch materials in here. I think that adds to the sense of quietness. Now, the crosswinds have really picked up. We've been recording these, I've been recording these in reverse order, so it's getting worse and worse out here. But anyway, let's go ahead. We just hit 70. Okay, next up on the list here is a 2016 Corolla. This is one of our cars we also own. This specific Corolla has 49,000 miles on it, and this is kind of a workhorse car. So do our 10 to 50. As we get up to speed here on the highway. Yeah, this Corolla sees daily commuting duty, so it has a fairly tough life. We've had it 2 years, and it's been rock solid as you would expect. It's 8 years old, but it doesn't have a huge amount of miles on it. It's still a baby miles-wise. Now, we do have Firestone All Seasons on here. They're probably about a third of the way through their life, but let's go ahead and get up to speed. Surprisingly, this is a little louder than I thought it would be, but now that I sit in here and drive down the road, now unfortunately we do have a lot of crosswinds, so unfortunately I think that's probably adding a little bit of noise on the system. In our 2010 Honda CR-V, I'm pretty sure this is the loudest of our bunch. This has 217,000, no, 217. I think it has 217,000 miles. Let's go ahead and do our 10 to 50 here. This is sort of our workhorse car. It doesn't get a whole lot of love. We do have one video out on this. It's actually a highway fuel mileage video, and we actually switched the tires. We do have Michelin's, pretty new Michelin's All Seasons on here, and you'll see in that video, if you watch it, they did make a difference as far as interior sound. But we're going to do a long-term owner video out. We're going to put one of those out sometime in the next couple months. Stay tuned for that one. And if you have any specific questions about this 2010, put those in the comments below. Now, this car, even though it is reliable, we have had to put some money into it in the last couple of years, which is not surprising given the mileage. We do have the K24 VTEC Honda engine. This is sort of classic Honda back in 2010. Pretty decent horsepower at about 180 some. Had to double check the numbers there, but not much torque. So let's go ahead and get it up to 70. Okay, I'm going to call that between 72 and 73. Again, we do have some crosswinds, so it's not totally, again, it gets back to how difficult these tests are. So this, even though this isn't too bad, I'm going to just say at 72, that's probably the threshold where you go, these cars are starting to get a little loud. I would take a trip in this. I have no issues with that. But you'll notice that this is loud because it gets back to the quality. A lot of road noise in here. This cabin is a big box, so you get that sort of tin can feel. But yeah, so actually not as bad as I thought, and this does cruise pretty well. One thing about this 2010 is that you can see 2,000 RPM. This has pretty tall gearing, and it's 5-speed. So if you do take this out on the trip, what you'll find out is that this thing does downshift quite a bit, as it's a big block moving through the air, and this K24 doesn't have a lot of torque. Okay, let's get back and check out these sound files in post. So we have taken all of the files over into post here, and I have a little bit of a montage or a short 10-second clip that you can listen to next with your headphones on. But I took a look at all 4 cars, the audio files, did a little bit of diagnosis on them, and as you would expect, the CX-9 was definitely the quietest. The sound files definitely support that. but not by much over the Mazda 3. So I did turn these cars around and run them the other way. I was concerned about the wind buffeting and the headwinds, and sure enough, they all lost about a dB in their sound level. So we're going to call the Mazda CX-9, we're going to call it 67 to 69 dB. We're going to call the the Mazda 3, basically 69.5 to 70, a little over 70. So 69 to 70 dB. And it was a little unfair for the Corolla and the Honda CR-V. They're older cars, a couple generations back for the, actually 3 generations back for the CR-V and a single generation back for the Corolla. And they actually tied. I thought the CR-V would be the loudest, but this Corolla roughly was 72 to 73 in both directions, 72 in the other direction, 73 on average in this direction. And the same thing with the Honda CR-V. It was roughly 72 back when 73, and if you listen to this file, you'll hear the wind buffeting in both of these cars. It's apparent, whereas something like the CX-9, you didn't hear the wind as much. So play these, they're coming up next in the video. Put on your headphones, listen to those. I also have all of the acceleration runs. You can listen to those all also. So let me know what you think about this. We're going to try to do this for all the cars we test. We'll try to do, I wish it was a little quieter today wind-wise, but it wasn't. As always, we really appreciate you joining us today. Put all your questions and comments below, and have a great day, morning or evening, wherever you may be.